This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another football episode of Rock and Roll English, where I'm here with
Boom Boom Cannon.
Oh yes, we are back to talk about the football coming up, okay? And I suppose there's no bigger place to start, Boom Boom, than I'm playing football this evening for the first time in 2 years. So you want to talk about that?
I'd rather talk about the Euros, but when you said, shall we do a pod about football, I assumed it was Euros based rather than you playing football. But
well,
sure.
It's the first time in 2 years, Cannon. This is big news.
Yeah.
Last night, actually, I was thinking, right, I need to make a good impression because some people in the local area have invited me. So I thought I need to make a good impression. I'm going to wear my best football shirt. And someone in the Rock and Roll English family actually recently sent me a Pele shirt, and it's got 10 Pele on the back. And I thought, I can't go there first day with a Pele shirt, can I? Like you're setting pretty high expectations if you go and play with a Pele shirt the first time you meet people.
That's a big statement. Have you heard of Pele?
Yeah, have you ever heard of him? He was a good player. But anyway, yes, so back to the Euros. Okay, so first place to start, Boom Boom. The name. I mean, what are we calling it? Euro 2020? 2021? What's going on?
So 2020 is the official name, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's just weird. It's like, okay, that's the official name, but everyone knows
it is weird.
It's 2021 now.
The whole thing feels a bit weird, actually, because you already had this multi-host format.
Yeah, exactly.
Now combined with the 2020-2021 issue.
Yeah.
I feel I'm a bit kind of... when's it happening? Where is it happening?
I know.
I'm not sure.
Something doesn't feel right. And also this actually happened in the last Euros as well, but I do not like this thing of 3 teams from the group qualify. It's just like, I mean, you can qualify for the knockout stages with 3 points. It's like, what the fuck is that about?
I only really understood that quite recently, actually. I was trying to do... for work, like one of these predictor things.
But Boom Boom's already done every single possible outcome for the whole Euros. Okay, so if England finish first in the group, it means this. And if we finish second, or if we finish third...
If we've got 6 goals for and 3 goals against, we should squeeze through on goal difference. But no, it is strange. I think it's 6 groups, isn't it? And 4...
And the 4 best third teams
go through. Yeah.
Not a fan of that.
No, it makes it very unlikely that any of the big sides will actually drop out of the group stage, which does reduce the excitement.
Yeah, certainly of the group stages. Yeah, like because 3 teams go through anyway, and then it's quite difficult to know who's going through because it's not we need that to finish second. It's okay, we're finishing third, but what's going on in the other groups? The strange thing as well for England, for example. So they will... I'm actually looking at my Predictathon. It's not actually called Predictathon. I've just started calling it Predictathon for some reason. This is actually this is all in Swedish, and they do not use the word Predictathon. But England, for example, could... It gets quite complicated, and at this point, I was just having to predict scores for the group stage. But England could win the group, and then we'll get someone from Group F, which is being referred to as the Group of Death. Yeah,
with France,
classic
Germany,
vocabulary.
Portugal.
The difficult group, the Group of Death.
Group of Death,
and get one of them.
But could finish third and actually potentially get an easier draw.
Yeah.
So it's all a bit.
So we're actually going to get to the groups actually.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about each group very quickly. Obviously, we're not going to go through every team, mainly because I have no clue about a lot of teams. I haven't really watched much football in the last years. Like COVID, no fans. It's all been a bit shit. Luckily, some fans will be there, and luckily Boom Boom knows more about football than me. So we're going to start with Group A, obviously. So we've got Turkey, Italy, Wales, Switzerland. Okay. I was listening to a podcast recently. Apparently Turkey have got a good team. Didn't know anything about that.
No, I can't say I've followed Turkey too closely. As far as I know, they they're a bit open at the back. But
I think you listened to the same podcast I did, Boom Boom. So open at the back, nice vocabulary to say they concede a lot of goals. But so Wales, obviously a bit closer to home for us. We probably know a bit more about them.
Know a bit more about, but
they.
My hopes aren't too high for Wales actually, compared to say the last Euros when they got to the semis.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how happy I was when they lost that semi-final to Portugal. I was thinking, fucking hell, if Wales get to the final, like in England, we lost to Iceland, and I was thinking, God, this is awful. So I was absolutely over the moon when they lost.
See, I actually did get quite behind Wales. Admittedly, there would have been. It would have been. Part of me that thought, okay, if they do something that we haven't done, that's quite tough to take. But I do have quite a soft spot for Wales.
No, I say fuck them. A lot of them. That's the thing. I often think this, like when it comes to international football, I'm very much like, I don't really agree with all these man-made borders that we have of like, you're one country, I'm another country, I'm a citizen of the world, we're all together. And it comes to international football, and I just think, fuck everyone. Come on, England.
That's it's kind of it gives you an outlet for your latent nationalism, but like in a safe space of kind of it's not doing any harm.
Exactly. But so obviously Wales, Gareth Bale, not sure if he'll be actually concentrating on football or like playing golf. And I just one thing I wanted to mention, they've got Dan James who plays for Manchester United, and I swear, when I watch him play, he actually looks like a kid that's won a competition to play like for the team that day. He's just so rubbish. He's just running around with no real clue of what he's doing. He's quite fast, but I just think, oh, for God's sake! Like whenever I see his face, I just think.
See, I think because you obviously watch United a lot closer than I do, so I've just see highlights, and there was particularly when he first joined, he actually he had quite an impact.
He scored 2 in his first 2 games.
Yeah, so I think my view of him is still a bit sort of based around that, rather than the fact that he now doesn't really get that close to the team.
But even one of those goals, his first goal actually against Chelsea, like he was kind of running with the ball, but it was quite obvious that at no point he had the ball under control. He was running and the ball's just going everywhere. He hasn't got it under control.
This is also, though, this is probably where he appeals to me as a player, because that's
your style.
Sounds a lot like myself. Winger, head down, not really having the ball under control. Put in a cross. If it goes in, great. If it finds someone, also great. So,
just keep running, look like you're trying hard, and everyone will be happy.
You're more a fan of the more technical midfield, controlling the game type of player, whereas I'm very much head down, kick and run.
Just keep it basic. Football's a simple game. Keep it basic. Okay, keep it simple. So obviously Italy in that group, I believe they're the favourites. I don't really know many of the Italian players. Like back in the day, late 90s, the whole team was like, I don't know, Maldini, Cannavaro, Nesta, like Gattuso, all of them.
Absolutely.
But these days, I mean, obviously they've got a few players, but apparently they're doing quite well. Dark horses, apparently. So dark horses, not really the favourites, but could go far. I just think as well, they've got like a mentality. I think this is England's problem, actually. I don't know why. I've seen this with club football as well. For example, when Liverpool won the Champions League in 2005, they hadn't done anything for a long time. But I heard Jamie Carragher talking about this, saying, like, we still had the mentality of we're Liverpool, like we deserve to be here. And so I think England lack that of so if we play France in the semi-final, I just think the players basically shit themselves. Whilst I think Italy just have that we're Italy,
absolutely.
We can do this.
Yeah, I think Germany similarly, they can even
course,
years when they've had quite average teams, they can go a long way in the tournament. Whereas they're sort of the anti-England in that respect. We
the complete opposite.
Whilst
we've had great teams. 2006. If you named your greatest Premier League team, the defence would probably be that. Ashley Cole, Rio Ferdinand, John Terry, Gary Neville. they would probably go straight there. Those four were playing. Beckham, Lampard, Gerrard, and didn't do anything. Basically, because I think it's just that mentality of like, oh fuck, we're in a knockout game, and then we shit ourselves basically. But anyway, let's get to Group B. So we've got here Denmark, Finland, Belgium, Russia. Okay, so Denmark, obviously winners in '92. Doesn't really get spoken about a lot. That I always think. That because that is bloody mental. But I also noticed that they play all their games at home. I don't really understand how this works. Like, again, England are playing all 3 of their games at home, but Scotland, who are in England's group as well, are playing 2 in Scotland and 1 in England. How does that work? Because surely that's an advantage for England.
It is, yeah. This was something else I was trying to factor into my predictions because ordinarily you can obviously just think
Boom's looked at the weather as well to see like what the wind's like on that day. Well, they're a long ball team, the wind's going to be strong.
What's the surface like? Phoned up the groundsman. But ordinarily when doing this kind of thing, you just think, okay, the tournament's taking place here. You can almost, apart from one team, you can to an extent remove that factor, particularly for a European tournament. Whereas in this one, I was having to think, okay, so when France are playing Germany, for instance, that's taking place in Germany. So France, we'll come to Group F, but I had, big favourites, I think, for the tournament. But then you've got to factor in the fact that Germany are playing at home. I think Denmark,
strange.
Russia, England, certain teams have it as a much bigger factor than others. So it will definitely be a factor. Although I suppose with the level of support in each ground, less so than
I actually think in some ways there's almost more because I don't know, you can just hear it more. I think that like no noise kind of gets drowned out. Like it's I know someone that went to a match in England recently, and they were talking to me and saying like the atmosphere was actually better than when the stadium's full. I'm not.
No, it could be true. I don't know I suppose there'll be different rules in each country as well as to how many people are in and that sort of thing. So my research didn't go that far into the COVID regulations of each host country.
Well, they only let 5% of the capacity in. So see what will the atmosphere be like?
Got to factor that in.
So obviously favourites for the group, though, I would say are Belgium. Although I think they suffer from the same thing as England. Like they've got obviously great players, but I just don't think they've got the mentality to go all the way. I think that they'll just shit themselves if they get to the semi-final or final.
Yeah, and I think they might have had this kind of golden generation they've got. They'd be now slightly over the hill.
Nice term. They're over the hill, like past it, basically.
A little bit.
Good days are behind them.
And I do like Denmark actually. I think Denmark have got a decent team.
Yeah, they do have. Apparently, Russia has got quite a good team as well. Obviously, Finland, I don't really know anything about. Apologies to any people listening from Finland.
No, Jari Litmanen was a good player, but I don't think he plays anymore.
Honestly, that's exactly what I always think. So even like Denmark, I'm thinking, well, like Peter Schmeichel, he's a good goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose his son is playing now.
His son is playing,
yeah. Okay, so on to Group C. So here we've got the Netherlands, Ukraine, Austria, and North Macedonia. So again, I don't know much about North Macedonia. And Austria, who've they got? Have they got some good players?
They have Marko Arnautovic, I believe.
Okay, right. He's a bit of a nutter,
David Alaba,
isn't he?
Yeah, Arnautovic.
Oh, he is a good the Bayern Munich player, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, the team obviously I know most about there is obviously Holland. Missed the last 2 tournaments. It just didn't feel right without the Dutch. They're always good value. Great fans as well, I always think.
Yeah, they're, I think, in my younger days, often my kind of second favourite team.
I agree.
Something about the orange kit, the players that they had, Bergkamp obviously, but
certainly in '98, I remember I was very much up for the Dutch winning that one. If you think about that team, like again, I knew all of the players there. Like Seedorf, Davids, the De Boer twins, Kluivert, Overmars, like Jaap Stam. But again, these days, I mean, even the Dutch, I don't really know.
Is this just
much about them?
Is this more of a comment on the Dutch or Italy that we were talking before, or more just about the fact that we now don't have enough time to play Championship Manager and FIFA? It could be that. But no, I know what you mean. It felt like these teams had more iconic players in those days.
Yeah.
Compared to Memphis Depay and I don't know Luke De Jong.
Yeah, I mean, also true. I mean, yeah, the fact that I used to play like Championship Manager, like Pro Evolution Soccer, spend all of my time watching football as well, probably also is connected to it. But Ukraine as well. Again, when I thought of Ukraine, I just thought of Shevchenko. But he's actually the manager now, isn't he?
Manager, yeah. Which is nice. It gives you that kind of the link to your knowledge about Ukraine still is somewhat useful.
Exactly. So yeah, hopefully maybe all the teams can just adopt ex-player, because then I'll know something about them.
Hopefully Sergei Rebrov is his assistant manager, but I haven't checked that.
What a duo they were.
Yeah.
What a duo. Okay, so Group D, this is the big one.
We're skipping over North Macedonia.
Unfortunately, yes, because I'm not so well informed about the players from North Macedonia.
Well, when I initially did this prediction thing, and it had just in the spreadsheet that I was sent, and it had just like 3 letters for each team, so it would have like AUS versus NOR, and it was a couple of matches in whilst I was thinking, well, Norway are actually quite good. Odegaard is a good player, and then it generally I had to go back and change my predictions on the basis it was North Macedonia rather than Norway.
Again, you say Norway to me, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer immediately. He's a good player. But again, unfortunately, not playing.
We should really just do a podcast about Euro 96 rather than 2020.
Oh, God. That would be like a 5-hour podcast, though. That's the problem. We should go through all the groups of Euro 96. Yeah, again, every time the Euros comes around, I mean, or World Cup as well, there's memories of Euro 96.
96 is the one, yeah.
That time we got to a semi-final.
Yes.
But what a summer that was in England. But obviously the fact that it was in England as well. I've already started listening to Football's Coming Home again. Got that straight on the playlist. Been listening to that quite a lot already. It's just like when the crowd comes in at the part, and you think, all right, now I'm having it.
Amazing.
I'm having it. It's 1996 all over again.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, though, obviously Group D brings us nicely on to England, which I think we know a little bit more about. Beginning with England-Croatia, hopefully we'll get some revenge there from the semi-final of the World Cups. Croatia as well, I hear, they're on the way down now, I've heard.
I think so. They were, even when we played them, in 2018, their team seemed to be getting on a bit. So having said that, Luka Modric still seems to be just as good as
I saw him. I saw the other day. He said Modric's 35, and I thought, fucking hell, he's way old. Okay, yeah, he's still a year younger than me, but bloody old.
Yeah,
bloody
my
old.
concept of footballers' ages compared to my own age is just completely out of sync. I still see myself as pretty young, life ahead of me, but a 36-year-old football player.
This could be our last tournament. Boom, boom. We'll have to hang up our boots after this. Yeah. And obviously the big one in that group, certainly for us, is England-Scotland. Again, memories of Euro 96 when England played Scotland, the Gaza goal, all of that. I'm actually going to a wedding that day when England plays Scotland, which I think is the 18th of June.
It is.
And so it kicks off at 9 o'clock Italian time. And when Mrs. R&R told me we're going to a wedding, I was like, what? That's England-Scotland. But luckily the wedding's actually in the morning, because here at the moment there's the curfew. So they don't really do things in the evening. So it should be finished by 5 o'clock.
Perfect.
And then I'll have enough drinking me already, just be fully up for the match.
Absolutely.
Fully football hooligan mode on.
Yeah, I mean, England versus Scotland on a Friday night. I imagine in England that'll be a pretty chilled out one. Definitely not full of, in the summer, Friday night, England-Scotland. That's what a combination.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just the thing is with that though, is just like the thought of losing that match to Scotland would just be Oh God, an absolute disaster. But like we said, home advantage. We should. When I looked at like Scotland's team as well, there were a lot of players like playing for like Barnet and players and teams like that. And I thought, like in England, like we had I think 7 players that like played in the Champions League final. So
I think you've picked out
theoretically.
You've picked out Barnet there as your archetypal shit lower league team, haven't you? Rather, than, I'm not sure they've quite got as low as Barnet, have they?
I don't know. Honestly, there were some. I think, like Motherwell as well. And I think Barnet are a bigger team than Motherwell. I'm not sure. Again, apologies to any Motherwell supporters. But I don't know. As I said, we should hopefully certainly not lose that match.
No, we do have a good. It's probably the most talented, at least kind of technically attacking in terms of like going forward, talented England squad we've had for a while, but slightly concerned kind of centre of defence, centre of midfield.
Big problem.
I'm not sure it's strong enough to go kind of all the way.
Yeah, and with the attacking options, there are almost too many now. I actually think if this had been last year, we were actually in a better position there. Like now, it's just a bit all over the place. But speaking about, what do you think? Can they go all the way? Can football finally come home? Boom, boom.
Can it go? No, I don't think it's coming home. I'm afraid.
No, I don't either.
Think it's coming home. I think even this kind of. I think we'll win the group, but then we'll play France or Germany or Portugal in the second round. So it's a strange one where I think we've got the potential to go quite far, but actually even the second round could be a big hurdle to get over.
That would be such a disappointment. That's the thing, actually. I was thinking about this, that basically in my whole life, I can't remember England winning a knockout match against like a big team. Like we beat Argentina in 2002 in the group, but like to beat, like Italy or France or Germany in a knockout match has just literally never happened in all of my life, not once.
No, I suppose Netherlands, Euro 9, Netherlands and Spain.
Again, that was in the group.
That was group
though.
Spain, Spain, Euro 96.
Yeah, that's true. But then Spain weren't really what they are now. And even that, I mean, we actually should have lost that match. Yeah. But yeah, and even if you think of like the World Cup,
just doesn't happen.
The 2 times England have got to the semi-final, like if you think in 1990, I think we beat Cameroon, and I can't remember the other team now. Belgium, again, that weren't the Belgium
Cameroon,
of now.
And even that was touch and go, wasn't it? That was late.
Exactly. And then in 2018, so we beat Sweden, and Colombia.
Penalties.
Yeah, so to actually like to go against like a big team, like I said before, I think it's just a mentality thing of just basically we shit our pants. And I also think it's another problem now. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but in going into the World Cup in 2018, like I had zero expectations, like zero. So basically anything was a bonus. But now after that, expectations are quite high. So like you said, if we go out like
second round
in the first match after the second round, it would just be fucking hell.
And I think there's a chance that we will, unfortunately. Expectations are high. I think we're at least in sort of British betting odds second favourites, which just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. Yeah. Although I just want to mention one thing about England. I just bloody hope Grealish plays. I love him.
100%.
Love him.
100%.
He just
I was going to say this.
I think Roy Keane said this recently. Just consistently making things happen. Like every match, he will do something. Like the way he like runs with the ball. I actually, even though Rashford plays for Manchester United, I actually prefer him to Rashford.
Yeah, I think he's great. He's just one of those players that, like, as a fan, as you say, every time he gets on the ball, you think something's happening here.
Yeah, exactly.
I would 100% have him in my starting lineup.
Yeah, I also get the feeling he plays with kind of no fear. He doesn't think like, oh, I'm up against whoever. He kind of thinks like, I'm the man. He needs to worry about me kind of vibe, which I think is the mentality you want, not someone just thinking like, oh, fuck, he's a good player.
And his no fear ethos is also shown in his choice of shin pads or lack of shin pads, which just blows my mind. I mean, I when I used to play like five-a-side in London on a Thursday night, I'd basically put on a huge pair of shin pads in case I got a little knock.
You did look like a dickhead though,
Yeah.
and I specifically remember telling you that. Like, why are you wearing shin pads? Just to like have a little match with like your friends. So yeah, and he's got bloody lovely legs.
Yes,
Grealish,
his
doesn't he?
calves are phenomenal.
They're to die for, aren't they? Like, what would I do for some calves
Powerful
like that?
calves.
But on the another positive though, we do have Harry Kane, who again consistently makes things happen. Like sometimes doesn't even like necessarily play so well, but he'll get a goal, assist. So he scored the most goals and he got the most assists this year in the league, didn't he? So
yeah, and
that's
he's someone
good.
that you feel like doesn't have that kind of shit the bed vibe about him.
Definitely. So
and
hopefully...
Phil Foden as well. I do like.
I like
although
him.
I don't know whether if I'd have Grealish and Foden with Kane, because I don't know if you need one player with inject a bit more pace, maybe Sancho. But yeah, it's a lot of good players there.
We will see. Obviously, I haven't mentioned the Czech Republic. Not sure if Karol Poborski will be playing. Scored a great goal in Euro '96. Karol Poborski. Or Milan Barros, or I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, so on to Group E. So we've got Spain, your adopted country, Sweden, Poland, Slovakia. So basically all I know about Poland is Lewandowski. He's pretty good. So he can certainly do something. And Sweden, what's going on with Sweden, Boomer? I've noticed that you've actually changed your phone number to a Swedish phone number, which is
it's pretty big step. Yeah,
I noticed that you before that though you got a Swedish passport, and so that's the first step, and then after that, change your phone number after about 5 years of living in Sweden. From a UK number to a Swedish number, so yeah, you're fully Swedish now.
Yeah, I think this the phone number change probably means I'm staying. I'm in for the long haul.
Exactly.
It was more inspired by Vodafone deciding they'd start to charge me for using the amount of data I was using rather than any long-term commitment to Sweden. But I've taken the jump. Yeah.
Okay. But so, what's the vibe in Sweden?
Yeah. Well, the biggest disappointment for Sweden is that after some years of international retirement, Zlatan actually
got injured.
So he came back into the team out of international retirement, but then he got injured. So that's disappointing from a Swedish perspective. I'm not expecting big things. They've a bit of a mixture of players who've slightly passed it. You might remember Sebastian Larsson of Sunderland fame still knocking around for the Swedish national team.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so a few players who are slightly past it, and then a few players who maybe a bit too young. Isak up front is a good player, but so I'm not expecting big things, unfortunately.
I wonder if they'll play England again. Like, I just seem to remember England always playing Sweden. So I think we played them in the 2002 World Cup, 2006, 2012 we played them, 2018. We just seem to play them a lot.
We do. And it's it's normally actually quite a good
exactly.
good draw for England. It's the sort of level of team we feel quite comfortable
exactly.
against. Yeah.
But the next team we're going to talk about is not someone we feel comfortable with, which is Spain. Although, again, not what they were, because, again, there's no Iniesta, Xavi, Alonso, Fabregas.
No.
Yeah. So, I actually looked at the Spanish squad, and, there were very few names there that I actually knew.
Yeah. Alvaro Morata, I think, is...
but apparently there's another striker that plays for Villarreal, Seville, I can't remember. That's
Moreno, I think, Gerard Moreno, because, I mainly remember him from when Villarreal knocked Arsenal out of the Europa League. So, I think he's maybe competing with Morata to start up front. But, I don't think big things are expected of Spain in this. But, again, they could easily still go along. You could see them going a long way, nonetheless.
Yeah, I think, certainly, because obviously in recent years, that maybe that winning mentality has maybe been passed through. And that they always, certainly in the Europa League in recent years, do very well. And obviously beating Manchester United recently, that was I hadn't been that involved in a football match in a long time.
Yeah.
And that I mentioned on a family podcast actually how like the penalties finished so here at midnight, and so at that point your heart is like pumping. It was like a Wednesday night. And then, like 2 minutes later, you go to bed, and you think, like, how am I supposed to sleep now? Like, my heart has just been like pumping through my chest, and now I'm in bed. Like, it just does not work.
No, particularly after those penalties and ending on the De Gea miss. That must have been really tough to watch.
Because penalties is obviously nerve-wracking experience, but normally it's finished after a few minutes. But to go to 11, like every time someone steps up. Oh God, it was a nightmare, and it was a school night. I had to go to work. Obviously, I had to work the next day, and basically didn't sleep. So all finals should be played at weekends. Okay,
yes.
If
agreed.
anyone from UEFA is listening. Okay, so to the last group, as we mentioned, the group of death: Portugal, France, Germany, Hungary. The first thing to say is it's a bloody difficult group for Hungary, isn't it?
Yeah, for Hungary. Yeah.
I bet they were like, "Fucking hell."
Oh, yeah. They are not getting out of this group, are they?
No. Although saying that, Germany in the last World Cup, but I think that was just a one-off, really. Because, I seem to remember, I think in Euro 2000, Germany didn't get out the group. They were in England's group, actually, and they didn't get out. And then, 2002 got to the final. So, as the thing is with the Germans, never write them off.
No.
Like, you can never say they've got no chance because they always find a way. So yes, certainly a dangerous team. They have actually got a few decent players as well now.
They've still got a very good team. I think so. Löw, the manager, is finishing after this.
You know what? I saw something, and he's the manager. I was thinking, bloody hell, he's been the manager for about 50 years, hasn't he? Yeah. Apparently it was 15.
15. And he was assistant before that, so he has been. He's been on the scene for a long time.
Yeah, he's been around the block.
And I think they've had like a couple of players also that he's brought back out of international. Well, maybe not retirement, but he wasn't selected. Like Muller, I think. Again,
okay,
he's back in the mix. So I don't know. They're not as strong as they were, but as you said, you can never write them off.
No.
You could easily see them knocking us out on penalties in the second round. So
always on penalties, sure. And obviously defending champions, Portugal.
I actually forgot they're defending champions.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously Ronaldo's still there. One thing I want to say, they're very controversial, especially obviously being a Manchester United fan. I actually am not a big fan of Bruno Fernandes.
Oh really? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I literally think he scores penalties and that's about it. And he'll pop up with a goal, obviously now and again, not from a penalty. But I just think to play that kind of number 10 role, his link up ability, he doesn't really connect the play. He's not really one to find like a nice pass through the lines, as we say. So I'm just not a big fan of his.
Yeah, no, he's much more that kind of the making runs into the box, or I mean, he's got a good long range shot, but the more sort of kind of goal scoring number 10 than the creative dictating the play.
Exactly.
And but United, they seem to get an inordinate number of penalties. I mean, I feel like every time I watch United, Fernandes is tucking away a penalty.
I mean, that is true, but if you also look at it, I can think of very few where I think that wasn't a penalty.
I can't say that they were undeserved, but I'm putting it out there and saying that they're undeserved. So
it's just one of those things. I remember one season, I think. So I think this was the 2009-2010 season. Rooney was the top scorer, and the second top scorer for Manchester United was own goals, because like we'd had like 13 own goals scored like in Manchester United's favour. It's just one of those things. Boom, boom.
Yeah, and they do obviously penalties, own goals. They don't come from nowhere. They come because you create those opportunities.
Exactly.
But nonetheless, it's still bullshit.
And obviously France
Yeah.
are the favourites. I mean, also Benzema has come back as well now, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's a strange one, Benzema, because he's still got the court case that was the reason for him not playing for the team. It still hasn't taken place, and it's happening later this year. So it's a bit strange. But yeah, as if they weren't already, favourites with an excellent team. Yeah, Benzema's now back in the mix. Giroud scored a couple of goals for them in a friendly last night.
I was surprised he's still knocking around as well, because like I do my best to not watch Chelsea matches, but he's played very little, I believe. So yeah, to go there, and considering they've got like Griezmann, Mbappe, Benzema.
I think Deschamps has always liked Giroud, and I do think he's really underrated. I think he's I think he's an excellent player. I think he likes what the role that he plays in that team is almost not even really there to score goals. He's there to actually just almost be a link player for the likes of Mbappe and Griezmann to run off of.
Yeah, lovely French pronunciation there, boom boom, of Deschamps.
Oh really? Thanks.
I thought that was impressive. Yeah. I would not, certainly from my days on Championship Manager, would go for Deschamps. And that, I mean, saying that though, I remember in the early Championship Manager signing Thierry Henry. He was a young, promising player.
It was always
for Monaco at the time.
Quite strange when there'd be a Championship Manager player that you would pronounce a certain way, and then it could be quite some time after they'd actually at an international tournament, you'd hear a commentator pronounce a name, and you'd realise you'd been getting it wrong all that time. The one thing I remember that I would always, being Frenching it up a little bit, I would always pronounce it Christian Ziyech.
And who are we talking about here?
Christian Ziege.
Okay. Wasn't he German anyway? And so you just give him French. Do you just pronounce all names with a French accent?
I think
then?
He was Swiss, wasn't he? Was he Swiss?
No, I'm sure he was German. Was
he German? No, he was German. Yeah, no, he was German. You're right. But I think he just, I don't know, he
just had a French vibe about him.
I just Frenched up every name like back in those days. You'd give me a foreign name, I just pronounced it with a French accent.
Yeah, he must be French, because that's about as far sort of like away from England I can sort of.
Yeah, no, he was German. Why,
understand. So that even like Ronaldo, the Brazilian, like Ronaldo.
Yeah,
that was my French accent, by the way. I've tried to say Ronaldo. Very nice. So they're all the groups, but I do need to quickly just say one thing, boom boom, before we move on. The European Super League, because I haven't spoken to you about that. What were your thoughts?
Terrible, wasn't it? It was just it's a mess. Like it was like terrible idea, and then terribly executed.
Yeah, and the thing is, I read that there was like a 250-page contract that they had made or something. So that must have taken a bloody long time. I feel sorry for the guy that wrote that, because then in like 48 hours, everyone was just like, "This is a load of shit." And he probably thought, "I've been fucking working on this for 6 months."
Yeah. I mean, I had some experience previously of writing some contracts, and they take an eternity. And I mean, they had, everything was in place. This wasn't like a kind of like just an idea they were announcing. Like the finance was there, as you say, the contract was there, and then it was within 48 hours, it was in the bin.
Yeah, I'll tell you the most shocking thing about it though. When I saw Malcolm Glazer and I saw the state of his hair, he's got the worst haircut you've ever seen. So he's completely bald, and like some bald people just have a bit of hair on the back of their head. Well, he's kind of turned that into like a ponytail. So he's completely bald. He's completely bald with a ponytail at the back, and I just like that was the most shocking thing about the whole thing.
That's the worst thing about the whole Super League idea. Glazer's hair. I mean, none of those the Glazer clan are particularly doing particularly well in the kind of fashion or hair stakes, are they?
They're not, but I mean, he's taking it to a new level.
Bunch.
He's taking it to an absolute new level.
Yeah, no, it was really bad, and some of the teams are still kind of clinging on to the idea. I think, aren't they? So I don't know where that's going to go, but
it's going to be really interesting. I think it's what is it? Real Madrid, Juventus, and maybe it's I can't remember the other one, but I think there are 3 teams.
Yeah, I think
that are still
Barcelona, Madrid, and Juve.
That's going to be a great league watching those 3 play each other every week, isn't it?
I mean, I must admit, there was a part of me that, as terrible I thought the idea was, there was a small part of me that thought, fucking hell, Arsenal have done well to stay in that grouping of teams.
Yeah.
Clinging on to that status as a European superpower.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tottenham as well. But yeah, I mean, or even Manchester United, really. I mean, obviously, history-wise, but certainly in recent years, don't really deserve to be there. Yeah, I think I saw something that Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest had won like more European Cups than it was like Juve, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea put together or something like that. Obviously, I think that might have changed now that Chelsea won it again. But nonsense, absolute nonsense.
Although then, I must admit, then the final of the actual Champions League, which was then in kind of contrast held up as, almost the good old-fashioned way of doing it, and then seeing the final between Chelsea and Man City.
Oh God, yeah, that was awful. It sort of made you think,
well, the Super League's a terrible idea, but the existing format and the way football's going also is just. I mean, if this is what the final we end up with, then it's a pretty sad state of affairs.
Absolutely. I at first was actually like, no, I'm not watching it in protest. And then, it was the Saturday night, I had nothing to do. I was like, get it on. Yeah. So I watched it, but just for my love of the game, though, I was supporting football and not either team. I actually hoped both would lose and the match got abandoned or something, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
Quite rare the match abandons. Like, I think you need maybe like 3 or 4 sent off from each team to get it abandoned. That would have been an entertaining final.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I was hoping for, but never mind. Okay, well, I think this is the best analysis of the Euros you'll probably find on the internet. So maybe we'll do this again, maybe after the group stages, boom, boom, or whenever we feel like it.
Yeah, basically. We might know a few more of the players by then, and not just continually refer to players from Euro 96.
Yeah, and if everything goes badly, we'll just do a podcast about Euro 96, okay? All right, boom, boom. Pleasure as always. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon. And in the meantime, keep on rocking, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.